and parks, all tie lighting up the dark. From the schemes in the Highland snow to the only dream we've ever known. Kids kicked balls against the wall, now their names through the stadium call. From the parks to the world tonight, Scotland stepping into the light. And oh, hear the tartan army sing like queens and kings on the wind. From the Clyde to America, our hearts are rolling in. Every street, every scar, every town we love, every hope we've been dreaming of, we carried it across the world with Scotland and our love. Thunders through the rain, McTominay breaking every chain, Tierney running like he's born from stone, Robertson never walking alone. From Toronto bars to New York nights, you see the Saltire burning bright. Kids of Scots from long ago still singing songs their granddads know. And oh, hear the tartan army roar like waves crashing to the shore. From the Highlands to Canada, we're coming once more. Every mile, every year, every ship that sailed, every dream that never failed, we carried it across the world with Scotland and our love. They try to clear us from the land, but history slipped right through their hands. Now the whole world hears the sound of a people never backing down. And somewhere in the cold night air, the old songs still are hanging there. From the shipyards and locks to the maple trees, Scotland rides the Atlantic breeze. And oh, hear the whole world sing, blue and white beneath the kings. From the Clyde to the World Cup lights, we carried everything. Every mother, every son, every soul we lost, every line that we have crossed, we carried it across the world with Scotland and our love. And oh, when the floodlights glow, we'll sing the songs we've always known. From the Highlands to the great unknown, Scotland brought us home.
Good morning. Good morning, my What the X massive. A couple of technical moments. We'll get on to this in a second. Now, where has my musical vibes gone? 2 seconds. 1 second.
Strictly drum and bass.
There we go. That's what we're looking for. Right, thanks for joining me this morning. Early doors on a Saturday, a wee bit rough round the edges. Now, this is a particularly interesting What the X, because I'll just get to it. Basically, when I was growing up, or when I was a kid, there was a bunch of copies of this book here, lying around the gaff. Well, there was a box of them, and then over the years, I don't know what happened to them, right? And it was called the Argentine Submarine, and it was written by this chap here, Mike McInnes, who is my father. And it's a kind of Beowulf-like epic poem of how the Scots for the '78 World Cup built a submarine and took it to Argentina for the World Cup, and the illustrations were by Rod, and it's a great little book. And what I'll do with this is I will take the images off it and put it up at some point, because I think this is literally the last copy of the Argentine Submarine. But that gentleman, my father, is thankfully still with us, and he's written a new book in preparation for the World Cup, which is just round the corner. And it's this book here. It's called Dugout Dialogues. And I'm delighted that if I push this button, if I push the correct button, not that one, this one, provided I get these buttons pushed right, I'm joined by the man himself. Can you hear me, Father?
Yes.
He's here, he's with us.
Yep, absolutely.
The great man is here. So this is your latest book, Dugout Dialogues, yes?
Sure.
And I'm just, as we start just now, let me just check that I've got, we do actually have some people with us as well, which you'll be pleased to hear. And morning everybody, morning Bob, morning all. David says, just while we're off, is your dad as dry as you, Bob? Well, I'm going to get it from somewhere, haven't I? Is it your dad's fault you support the spoon burners? I think it's quite possibly. Best comment to start. I am a Nepo baby. So just to kick things off, to kick off this football special, let me just read the first the introduction to Dugout Dialogues, and we can take things from there. In fact, I think I've got this. I think I've got the image here that I can bring up here. So it starts off with this premise, which is. Let me just check. That music's not too loud, is it, folks? I don't think. Let me just. Turkana boy. So I'm reading from Dugout Dialogues right now. Are you all right? Are you still there? I'm talking to Fela.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Just checking. You just seem to have gone a bit static, like, you know what I mean. I wondered if the image had frozen, like, you know.
Well, you'd soon find out.
Would I? Right. Okay. So
I would go over to like this, like Trump does. You know?
Okay. Right. Start nodding off.
Yeah.
Okay. So in 1984, Kamoya Kimu, working with Richard Leakey's team on the Nariakolm River near Lake Turkana in Kenya, discovered the most complete Homo erectus skeleton ever found. Turkana Boy, as he was named, was dated to be about 1.5 to 1.6 million years ago. This completely rewrote the previous thinking about evolution. And it didn't just excite the archaeologists. Speculation about Turkana Boy's origin was everywhere. Questions were being asked and theories propounded in academic faculties, lecture theatres, offices, classrooms, and argued about in pubs all over the world. But it would be the brilliant insight of three legendary football coaches, Matt Busby, Jock Stein, and Bill Shankly, who would unravel the mystery and realise what all the eminent academics had missed. Turkana Boy had been a footballer. Okay? Well, there we have it. And I have an image here. I think this is Turkana Boy. Can you see that there on your screen?
I can see it, yeah.
Right.
Not yet.
There down on your little screen. Do you see it there?
Not yet.
You do. It's.
Oh yes, I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So tell me the significance of Turkana Boy then.
Upright bipedalism, which is peculiar to the species Homo, hominids and then later on Homo sapiens, is an absolutely insane form of locomotion.
Let me just get back to this here again. So upright bipedalism.
Yeah. Because previously we had been primates and we had long arms and we swung through the trees, and then we went down onto the savannah and stood upright and used that as a form of locomotion. Now basically that's crazy because 4 legs are great, 3 legs is better, 2 legs is unstable, you fall down, and you run about half the speed of a geriatric predator, so it can't be explained as an evolutionary advance in any sense whatsoever, except through football.
Right. So basically, you're basically saying you're suggesting in this book through the thoughts of Shankly, Busby, and Steen that we evolved to play football. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
There's no question about that, you know.
Right. Okay.
If you look at the anatomy and physiology of what is called Homo sapiens, but it actually should be called Homo paciens.
Homo paciens.
Yeah, which is passing man, the footballer.
Okay.
That explains the insane form of locomotion that we as a species use. And it can only be explained through football.
Okay.
And if you look at the anatomy, I mean, primates have a rigid brow here and an extended chin. Now we don't have that. We have a flat face, flat brow for heading, and a domed head for subtle heading. Subtle heading, yeah.
Okay.
Narrow pelvis, which means we're upright. Hinged legs at the side. And arms with opposable thumbs, which is for the goalkeeping and for shying and for pulling shirts of your opponents.
Okay.
We have an elbow, which has never been explained in evolutionary. Stephen Jay Gould, the great evolutionist, said that the elbow was an evolutionary byproduct without function.
Well,
that's nonsense. Every defender knows the function of the elbow. It's to impede the striker or the inside forward or the winger or another forward. That's the importance of the elbow. And there is an elbow gene called the elb hit, alpha 1 gene.
Okay.
Which means that it's significant. Harari, the great writer of Sapiens, he said that humans have no genes for football. Now that is absolute rubbish. And in the book, Steen challenges him and proves him to be an absolute tosser. in that sense, you know. So the elbow is a very significant part of our football anatomy, or bipedal football anatomy.
Okay.
Then you have the legs hinged at the side, which allows for forward, backward and eccentric motion, which is like Messi. The valgus angle of the hips moves in towards the centre of gravity, which allows for knock knees. Now, you cannot be a footballer if you're not knock-kneed, okay? All the best footballers are knock-kneed, because that gives you a centre of gravity. Then, in terms of the 2 feet, we have long-heeled, short-toed, levered feet with outstep for instep for hooking the ball, outstep for slicing the ball, and the most significant part of the foot, which is key to our evolutionary advance, is the non-opposable big toe.
Okay.
Because with a opposable big toe, a striker can strike the ball and score a goal. Whereas if you have an opposable big toe, which is what our primate ancestors had, then you couldn't play football and you couldn't go to the World Cup. You couldn't possibly do it.
Okay.
So, and in the book, Steen and Shankly and Matt Busby discuss these evolutionary questions, the anatomy of the craniology of heading the ball and other aspects of.
I must say, the more you talk, the more plausible I'm beginning to find this. I have to say.
It's not just plausible; it's scientifically accurate.
Of course, I can imagine.
You know, if you know, the academics have missed this completely. You know?
Clearly.
And so it's important that only in football would that history of our anatomy and the development, the evolutionary advance, could be explained. And who better to explain them than the three kings of Scottish football coaching?
Well, definitely. David says, my favourite shot, the big toe ball. Tell me, you chose Busby, Steen and Shankly for this. Was there anybody else that came into contention, or was there no question about these?
Well, there was a whole bunch of
What
people.
about Ferguson, people like that? Did you think about these guys?
I did consider Ferguson. Paul Goodwin of the Scottish Football Supporters Association, who's supported the book and was giving me some good ideas. And they're getting some of the royalties if we sell the book.
Okay.
Suggested the three kings to me as the best three football figures to discuss this very important part of our evolutionary history. And
So it's got some fabulous illustrations in it. Original illustrations. Is it Matt Kenyon that's
Matt
made these?
Kenyon, absolutely fabulous.
We've got Messi here, which is the messianic particle, I think, is what you refer to it as. Is that what you call
it's
it?
the Mession particle, which
the Mession particle,
which has recently been discovered by the Large Hadron Collider at CERN.
Okay.
Which is a particle which is not new to football but new to science, which is explains the binding of the ball in the foot.
The binding of the ball in the foot.
Yes, there's no other particle does that. I mean, we've looked at science looked at the graviton and the Higgs boson and the strong nuclear forces and weak nuclear forces. They couldn't find one until recently. The Mession was discovered at CERN in Switzerland in experiments in the Large Hadron Collider. So there's no other way to explain the way that the ball binds with Mession's feet in one of his long mazy dribbles.
Let me have a wee look here. I think I've got a wee image of the Mession. Let me just look here. I think this is Messi here, is it? Here we are here. You might be able to see that.
It just keeps rewriting the history book. Well, I don't think he's had a touch.
So Messi is in possession of this Messianic particle, is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's not peculiar to Messi. Messi is the greatest expression of the particle, but obviously there are many.
Messi keeps on going and slots it home. It's his second.
Many great footballers who have done this in the past, including some of our own footballers. And Gordon Smith and Willie Fernie and people like that.
Was Gordon Smith your favourite player?
He was indeed. The Hibs team of the 50s, the late 40s and 1950s were the famous five, which was Smith, Johnson, Riley, Turnbull, Norman, was absolutely iconic. And they went to the final of the Coronation Cup, where they beat all the English clubs, and they played Celtic and they lost to Celtic in the final. But they could take on any English First Division club of those days.
The book's pretty comprehensive in terms of the different angles that you go on, and they cover a lot of ground. These three significant gents throughout football, and there's politics in here, and there's a lot of Scottish references as well. You've got Burns is in there as well, haven't you? You've got Burns in there.
Yes.
You've got. Can I get you to read a piece from the book? Yeah.
Sure.
Can you give me a wee second? This is the only copy I have here, so I'll have to hand this to you. Just give me a wee second.
In the book, Burns writes a letter of congratulation to Steve Clark.
Right,
And,
okay.
I can do that if you like. And then there's also the address to the football, which is
Okay.
a
Please do.
poem
Please,
that
please.
goes back to the early days of when I was writing about football. That's about 10 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
And in this poem, Robert Burns addresses the football.
Okay.
Fair and foo is your honest football face, great chieftain o' the spherical race. Above them all, you take your place, with 12 legs, 12 feet, and football grace. Then let us pray that come it may, and come it will for all that sense and worth o'er all the earth shall be the football gift and all that fan to fan the world o'er shall brothers be for all that.
Wonderful. That was fantastic. And what was the other piece that you've got there about to Steve Clark? What's the?
Do you want me to read this?
If you think you should.
Okay, Robert Burns to Steve Clark upon Scotland's qualification for the World Cup anno 2026. Sir, it is with lightsome heart I salute ye on the glorious deed ye hae brought for our native land. The roar that rose through Hampden yestreen was nae idle mirth, but Scotland herself rejoicing that her bairns stood once more among the nations of the earth. Ye hae shepherded a band of honest chiels that play with the courage of ploughmen and the craft of scholars. Under your steady ee, they hae grown frae hopeful youth into gallant warriors, and the world kens new that the thistle has lost nane o' its sting. The on first goal, young McTominay sending the ball fleeing like a comet o'er the Danish keep, would he warm the blood of Wallace himself. And when adversity came, your lads met it with your due resolve that has aye been Scotland's shield. For this, the folk of Scotland, the tradesfolk, the teachers, the medics, the bairns watching the telly, bless ye. Ye hae given them a glint of what may be when courage and unity guide our steps. May fortune attend you in the new world, and may your lads bear themselves with honour, kindness, and the old Caledonian fire. I am, with warm esteem, your humble servant, Robert Burns.
Fabulous. That was great. So tell me, the notion of us evolving to play football. Where do you see this ultimately landing? Because you suggest in the book that we may surpass the human species altogether when it comes to football, don't you?
Indeed, Homo sapiens, which is what people pride themselves in calling themselves, is on the way out. Basically, it's declining. Its brain is shrinking, which has been going on for about 10,000 years.
So you think the human brain has been shrinking for 10,000 years?
Yes, and most rapidly since the 1970s, because from then on we eat refined sugars, and these refined sugars, the more sugar there is in the circulation, the less goes into the brain. It's inversely proportional.
Is this discussed in the book?
No. No, that'll be for another book.
Right, okay. And you suggest that we
So football will be the future of humanity. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And I think this is most important in Scotland, because no country that I know of expresses its hatred and detestation of imperialism and colonialism. In Scotland's case, it's semi-colonialism, more than on the football pitch and in the football stadium. In Scotland, because of the insult and the psychological wound of semi-colonialism, Scotland would have anybody win the World Cup, but rather than England. And that's not an anti-English sentiment. It's against the imperialist and colonialist government of the United Kingdom.
Okay.
So nationalism and football are very profoundly interrelated in Scotland. Unlike many other countries. I mean, there may be other countries where these things apply, but I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
In Scotland, it's deeply significant.
Right.
When England won the World Cup in 1966, I think it was, Scotland basically went into mourning. You know, the streets were full of weeping Scots.
Have you got the streets were full of weeping Scots?
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
'66.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, how do you think we're going to fare in this upcoming tournament?
I think we'll fare very, very well.
You think so?
I do. Yeah. There's a very, very, very good team, and Steve Clark's a very good coach.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right about that. But you do.
Also, I'm going to give Burns an X account so that he can go with the Tartan Army.
Okay.
I'll go live next week.
Okay. So we now know who will be behind that X account. Is that what you're saying?
Burns will have an X account. He's temporarily been resurrected from St Michael's Churchyard in Dumfries to write the letter and to recite his poem and to go with the Tartan Army and speak to the Scottish diaspora and report on the games and on the relationship to the fans, and also he'll make some comments on
the games are on quite late. Do you think you're going to be able to catch them? Are you going to set your alarm clock? Or are you going to make a point of watching them?
Well, Robert Dunns, when he's awake, he doesn't go to sleep.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Tell me though, but you do suggest that we're going to see a time where robots are playing football.
Yes, that's correct. There's a thing called the Robo Cup, which was originally founded some decades ago in Japan, and they're anticipating defeating Homo Paciens, which is the modern football species, in the World Cup of 2050. And they're on track to do that. You know, so seen in Busby and Shankly discussed that in the book. You know. So that's an important part. You know, obviously, artificial intelligence will be profoundly involved, and they expect to be able to beat Homo sapiens, if you like, the modern version, which is Homo Paciens.
Speak a little clearer, if you could.
They expect that Robo Paciens will defeat Homo Paciens in the 2050 World Cup.
You think it'll be that's barely 20 odd years away, that you expect robots to be beating humans at football? Is that what you're saying?
They're already making significant advances, and there's a World Cup. They have universities all over the world competing, and Edinburgh University was one of the universities involved, and they're making dramatic progress, and so 2050, yeah.
Look, I'm not going to lie. It's an amusing and informative piece of writing from what I've read so far. It's definitely engaging, and I genuinely would encourage folk to purchase it on Amazon, because it's a great read. There's an element in the book. You've been a Hibs fan all your life, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
And there was a recent our recent league was an interesting affair, wasn't it? Were you paying attention to what happened there in the closing moments of the?
I certainly was, and you know, I have.
Don't say you were sympathetic. Don't go on live on this stream and suggest that you were in any way sympathetic to the neighbours on the west side of the city, like, you know. But did you have any thoughts on what happened there?
No, the team that won the league, and that's all there is to it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
I mean, I noticed that you're going to link us to some of the James Connolly material.
In a minute, we'll come to that in a minute.
Well, but I want to mention that because Connolly was a Hibs fan.
Connolly was a Hibs. That's right. No, Connolly was a Hibs fan.
James Connolly was a Hibs fan.
That's right. Yes, that's right. And
so he would have been watching that very carefully.
He went to St Pat's. That was his church, and Canon Hannon, who started the Hibs, was St Pat's, wasn't he?
I believe so.
In the Cowgate. the reason though that I mention our maroon neighbours is that in the book, despite the mischief and the twist on the concept of evolution and that and the humour that is woven throughout the book, which is brilliant, I have to say, you know, as I like a laugh in that, you know, but there's actually a very poignant and moving part of the book that genuinely does evoke genuine sympathies for the heart of Midlothian, and that's when you speak about McRae's battalion.
Yes.
Could you maybe tell us about that? People don't know about this. I know that many Hearts supporters are well aware of it because there's been a play made about it over recent years and stuff. But it's a lesser known fact, and the way that it's interesting because in the book, you know, it's very rewarding. It's amusing and whatnot, and you know, I think you're getting across some very intriguing and important scientific and evolutionary facts within the book. But then you come to this point about you get to the point where who is it that brings it up? Shankly or Busby? One of the
no, they all discuss it.
One of them introduces it, and then they start.
It's Steen that actually raises the question.
Yeah.
And for anybody that doesn't know,
tell us about it.
Jack McRae was an Edinburgh businessman who wanted to organise a battalion to go to fight the Germans in the First World War, and he thought Hearts at the time were the best Scottish team, and he thought if he could get the players to join his battalion, that would organise many more people to join, and that's exactly what happened. They had a meeting in the Usher Hall, and they brought on the Hearts players who had signed up to fight the Germans, and they organised hundreds of people to sign up as a result of that.
Did they not march from the Usher Hall or something down to the recruitment office?
To the recruiting office, exactly. Yeah. And they did fight, and they suffered very badly. I mean, out of the team, there was only one or two who survived the actual.
It was devastating, wasn't it? It was
absolutely devastating. Yeah, so it's a very important part of Scottish and Scots from all over England joined in as well. You know, and so did Hibs supporters and other supporters from other clubs as well. You know? Mm-hmm. So that was an important part of Scottish and Edinburgh history. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So credit to Hearts.
Yeah, and under these circumstances. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a few comments here. Madame Guy says 100% about the sugars. This is something that you've written up. You've actually written previous books about the danger of refined sugar, haven't you?
Yeah.
We came to speak about. David says the Hibs team shat it as usual. There's only one team shat it recently, like, you know. Let's just be clear about that, though. So tell me. Give us a wee bit more info on the sugar thing, because I think that people, it's genuine. It's a big passion of yours, this issue with refined sugars. You know, you've been going on about it for decades. I can testify to this. So summarise the biggest issue with refined sugars, so that the public, the masses of public that tune into What the X at 10:30 on a Saturday morning to listen to me talk to my old man. Can you please inform the public what they need to know about refined sugars?
Okay. Since the 1970s, refined sugars were introduced in great quantity into the modern human diet. And since then, several diseases have exploded, okay? Obesity, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and autism. And also there's great quantity, massively increased. I mean, autism has gone up 10,000 times. It was It was 1 in 200 times, I beg your pardon. It was 1 in 10,000 in 1980, it's now 2 in 100. It's gone up 200 times.
Right, just speak a bit clearer, please, if you could, yeah?
Yeah, and they will not allow the notion that sugars, the scientific establishment just won't look at sugars as being involved in that. But the mechanics of it are very easy to explain. The more sugar that is in the circulation, less glucose less energy goes into the brain. It's inversely proportional. Okay, because what the sugars do is they shut down the brain's glucose pump.
The sugars shut down the brain's glucose pump?
Yeah, an enzyme called glutamine synthetase, and sugars shut it down.
Okay.
And that sets off an inflammatory reaction in microglial cells, which are the brain's immune cells. And basically what then happens is you get an inflammatory cascade which cooks and digests neurons.
Okay.
And it's that simple. It's very, very simple. And the scientific establishment just won't go there because of the power of the sugar lobby.
So basically, the sugar lobby is powerful, like the military-industrial complex. Basically,
yes, absolutely,
and it influences the entire narrative. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. All the major diseases are obesity first, and then diabetes, and then Alzheimer's, and they're all profoundly interrelated, and they're all driven by sugar. Alzheimer's is now known as diabetes type 3.
Alzheimer's is known as diabetes type 3.
Type 3, yeah, because the mechanisms that cause basically what we're doing is we're cooking and digesting our brains.
We are cooking and digesting our brains. Did
That's
I just
correct.
catch it? Okay. And this
That's correct.
and this is accelerated via refined sugar.
Refined sugar does that, yeah.
Okay, but it's very difficult to avoid refined sugar in our
Very difficult.
daily diets.
It's very difficult, yeah, because of the way that the foods are produced and processed and so on and so forth, you know.
Right.
So that's a problem, and it has to be. For instance, I mean, it's a political question. I mean, the Chinese are onto this. The West just ignores it. The Chinese are onto this, and also the Chinese recognise that we can learn from the honeybee. Okay, the honeybee processes sugars through its circulation in flight about 100 times the level that humans do.
Uh-huh.
Now, its brains and neurons should be homogenised into neurological minestrone, but they're not.
Neurological minestrone
Yeah, that's what we're doing to our brains
with refined sugars.
with refined sugars. But the in honey there are flavonoids which have been sourced from plants over a period of 100 million years, and the honeybee shows us how to process high levels of sugars without damaging the brain.
Okay.
It teaches us that.
Okay, so you would advocate using honey as opposed to sugar?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Honey, yes, of course. You know, although the honey that's in the supermarkets is often adulterated, it's not pure honey. But the nearest you can get to pure honey is fine. You know.
Okay.
So I mean, honey basically, honey is the most anti-diabetic and neuroprotective brain and motor neuron fuel known to humans.
Okay.
That's significant. Now, the Western scientific establishment ignores this question because the science of flavonoids has been conducted over the last, from about the 2000s onwards, in non-Western universities, published in Western journals and ignored, completely and absolutely ignored. Hundreds and hundreds of these studies, and consequently, we're suffering the consequences.
Okay. 1250 says, what shoes don't get wiped out by Tate and Lyle?
Okay, yeah.
Sugar is the gateway drug. There's a bit of truth in that, is there not?
It could well be. Yeah. The mechanisms that sugar activate are also addictive mechanisms as well, you know,
Uh-huh.
involving dopamine and other
Right.
pathways.
David T says, what's his take on fake sugars and sweeteners? Even worse, in my opinion.
Yes,
Do you agree?
indeed. They all stimulate excessive amounts of insulin, and that is, you then become insulin resistant, which is another part of the same problem.
Right, okay.
So insulin resistance is the main expression of the excess use of sugars globally.
So what do you think we should? You believe that it seems to me that you reckon sugar is the biggest enemy of all in our existential threat, right?
Yes, if you examine the growth of sugar consumption and the growth of the decline in human cognition, which is happening at a massive rate, then by the end of the 21st century, if you look at the figures as they're going forward, we will no longer be a cognitively competent species. You know, autism doubles every 5 years. It's gone up from 1 in 10,000 to 2 in 100 since 1980. At that rate of continuation, then, you know, and autism declining cognition, communication and language. These are the three things that make us human. So, that make us Homo sapiens. So consequently, these are the things that are under threat.
Tell me, Leslie Gray says, boom, great chat, on point. Also, the MMR vaccine in 1986 changed bodily health in a negative way. Do you think there's truth in that?
I wouldn't comment on that. I don't buy into this anti-vaccine. Vaccines have saved millions and millions of lives.
But you do think, do you not think that there's a lot of dubious stuff to do with the vaccination of the COVID stuff and that? Do you not think that that's a bit mental?
I think on balance, the introduction of the vaccines was positive. I'm not saying it's perfect by any means, and there's been some major problems, particularly among young, very fit athletes, as a matter of fact.
With the myocarditis and all that kind of stuff, or whatever it is, yeah?
Various things are there. So you know, that, I'm not saying she's completely out of it, but I don't go with the anti-vaccine.
Well, that's a controversial one. There's a lot of people are very, very, very firmly on the. Why do you think that is then? Why do you think people have become so hostile and distrusting of that? Is it because it's built on profit?
Well, that could be part of it.
I don't trust. I don't think that these vaccines that were. I mean, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole.
Modern pharmaceutical medicine has produced some brilliant drugs, such as Digitalis and aspirin is one of them, and others. But a lot of them are questionable, and and drugs are a problem because a drug is a one-trick pony. Okay, a drug blocks an enzyme or enhances an enzyme or a receptor or another part of the metabolic pathway. So they generally only work things like, some of them are, take for instance metformin, which is an amazing drug which has been produced from plant sources and has been around, I think maybe not 100 years, but probably not far off it, has saved millions of lives of type 2 diabetics. So not all drugs are bad.
No, I'm not saying not all drugs are bad.
It's exactly the same with vaccines. You know, vaccines are not perfect, but they are a tool that has been incredibly successful.
But do you not think, for example, we'll move on from this. There's other questions he ask as well. But the question of do you not think there's a lot to be said about the speed in which they rushed these vaccines to market? Because over this period, there was a much longer period before vaccines would reach the public.
Indeed, but there was a crisis, which therefore, I guess maybe some corners were cut. That could be the case. Mm-hmm. But I accepted the COVID vaccine, and if there was another global epidemic of some kind, I would go.
You'd be first in line.
I'd go for a vaccine. Yeah, I would do. Yeah.
Good for you.
Anyway, depending on the disease and the vaccine.
Sovereign Scott says they now use aspartame instead of sugar. Chemical shit storm brought by the sugar tax.
Yes, these artificial sugars are problematic.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. And probably one of the hardest addictions to beat also. So let me just return to the theme, the theme at hand. Well, the vague theme. Politics does feature in the Dugout Dialogues, right?
Well, it doesn't directly address politics, but in Scotland, more than anywhere else that I know of in the world, politics and football are profoundly linked.
We saw this just in the last couple of days when Robbie Keane was being mooted as the Celtic manager. There was a big outrage from sections of the Celtic support due to the fact that he'd been previously managing Maccabi Tel Aviv. And they took umbrage to this, and there was a lot. It was interesting to see the online dialogue where people were, even sections of the Celtic support. There's a split. Celtic, I think, are really are an example in the way that you talk about it. Although you can argue this with both sides of the old firm, you know what I mean? Because you've obviously got the unionist thing, and it's a political element to this as well. So there is a great deal of truth in that. Do you think that Scotland is different from other countries when it comes to this inculcated kind of football and political intertwinement?
All I could say is that Scotland, more than any other country that I know of, combines its anti-colonial anger and aggression against the British state via football. That's where it's expressed, yeah? And I think quite correctly so. I mean, you know, the British state is an imperialist state and always has been. And so the independence movement would express a lot of its feelings through football. I would feel that way. You know?
Tell me, is there anything from Dugout Dialogues that you would like to mention just now, but particularly from the book, before I move on to this next piece, which is to do with the with yesterday's Connolly march? Because I thought it was worth looking at David Jamieson's speech. I thought we could look at that together. Because that was very good. But is there anything else from Dugout Dialogues in particular that you would like to say, or you would like to mention about the book? Basically, it's a fun book. You know, it's challenging the notion that we evolved to be Homo sapiens, but we evolved to be Homo paciens. And there's all sorts of references to that in the book. So yeah, I wouldn't like to pick out any particular. Chapter. Well, I would advise people, but I'll put a link to the book in the comments shortly when I do that. I'm going to play David Jamieson's speech yesterday. It was the 40th Connolly Society commemoration of the birth of James Connolly last night down in the Cowgate. It was another great event that was organised by the Connolly Society, Jim Slavin and all. But I think David Jamieson did make a very good speech, so I'm going to play it just now. I'm going to cut to the other screen, and with any luck, you should be able to hear this as well on your. In fact, can I just check? Can you hear?
And one of the aspects
you hear that, can't you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'll cut to this on the other screen just now, and we can watch this. And for those watching, we can watch David Jamieson's address from yesterday.
Connolly's life, and there's a lot of them actually that are sort of not ignored but overshadowed by what I call the last Connolly, is his anti-war writings. Connolly's anti-war writings are some of the most powerful writings that he did in his whole life, and obviously we're now in an era of perpetual war, so there's no better time to be returned onto Connolly for that aspect, if nothing else. So the next speaker really reflects that. I'd like to ask you all to give a big welcome to David Jamieson for the Stop the War campaign.
Yes.
As Jim just said, and let me say first of all, what an incredible thing to be able to celebrate 40 years of this commemoration of James Connolly here in Connolly City in Edinburgh. It took all you to do it, because the council won't do it for reasons I'll get into. But as Jim was saying, James Connolly was perhaps the greatest anti-war activist in the history of the world, which is a big claim. But Connolly was a giant, so it's a fitting claim for that man. And let me justify it. Between 1914 and 1918, millions of working class people around Europe were murdered in the trenches, in the Somme, in Gallipoli, across Europe and around the world. That war was ended, not because the people who started it got round the table and talked peace. That only happened after the working class stopped the war. First in Russia, famously, but then in Germany, when the workers and sailors and soldiers rose up and overthrew their government and ended the war. But few recall that the first of those revolutions wasn't in Germany, wasn't in Russia, but was in Dublin, was in what was then the British Empire. Working class resistance ended the First World War And it was Connolly and his comrades who started that resistance. That's why they fear this man. That's why they fear his face. That's why they fear his name. There are statues to warmongers and so-called great men all over this city and all over this country, but no statue of this man because of the fear he evokes. And why that fear matters today? Because in the last 110 years, much has changed. But we are again a world at war. The British government is up to its neck in blood in Gaza. The British government is up to its neck in the attack on Iran. Our airports and military bases are being used in that attack, and every day we are told that our government has kept us out of the war. Out of a war that our airports are used for, our military is used for, military bases are used for. That's a lie. State propaganda repeated in our media every day. And in Europe, once again, working class boys are dying in the trenches in Ukraine. 1 million casualties. Russian boys, Ukrainian boys, conscripted by poverty, forced into war by the arms traders and the oligarchs, none of whom are dying in that war, including our governments, who continue to send arms. And across Europe today, they are talking about a future of war. The head of the British Army, General Sanders, says that today's young generation are a pre-war generation who must prepare in their hearts for the wars that are coming. We say to the politicians and the generals and the arms dealers, all of you together are not worth one hair on one head of one working class child in this city or any city in this country. They're saying they're going to cut our public services, welfare, schools, hospitals, to push money into arms. We stand with Connolly. I think we should return to the spirit of Connolly today, the example of Connolly today, who said, stand by your class patriotism, your class first. I'll say one last thing. Connolly, 2 months before he died, he wrote an article where he reflected on the British Army recruiters, saying that the killing fields of the Somme were becoming safer for working class people than the slums of Dublin. And Connolly said, "You be careful. You be careful that Dublin does not become dangerous for the gentry and the rich who seek to oppress the working class." We need that audacity. And in the period to come, we need to say to our governments, we warn you, drive us on to these wars, and we will bring the fight home where our real enemies are. Because who is cutting the services in Scotland? Who is raising the prices in the supermarkets? Who is raising energy prices in our homes? Who has sought to drive the working class out of the heart of this city? It's not the governments in Iran, or the governments in Russia, or China, or the people of Palestine. Our enemy lives here. Some of them in this very city. We will bring the fight home. We will resist these wars abroad and fight instead for our people here. Thank you very much.
Go on, David, go on.
Excellent, Newman. Thank you very much. I'm sure we all agree exactly what David said, a very passionate speech, but making exactly the right point.
Okay, you there?
Yeah,
Fantastic, eh?
absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. The this is what this government is about. It's about war, you know. And the Scottish Parliament is silent on these questions, you know. So we have to deal with that. We have to face the fact that we have a supine Scottish Parliament and an aggressive imperialist regime in Westminster.
Can you speak up just a little bit there?
Yes, surely. We have to realise that we have a supine Parliament in Holyrood and an aggressive imperialist, pro-imperialist, pro-Zionist government in Westminster. We have to. Do you want me to continue about this?
Of course. I think, you know, like
Okay,
you've been
okay.
involved in you've been a socialist all your life, you know, as far back as I know, you know. You've watched the crushing of the working class under Thatcher and whatnot, you know. I remember you were very involved in the Workers' Revolutionary Party when I was a young laddie, and that took up all your time. It seemed to be a lot of meetings in pubs, like, you know.
Partly true. Yeah.
But you've seen we're at the collapse of the neoliberal era. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Neoliberalism is the last period of capitalist rule of the planet, and it's collapsing by the minute. You know, and imperialism has been defeated in the Middle East by Iran, the resistance movement in Palestine, and imperialism is collapsing. The American empire is now in absolute decline.
Yeah.
And this will be the last empire of imperialism, and we're now at the point where the power of the resistance movement, particularly expressed by the people of Palestine, but the leading country in the world fighting against imperialism is Iran at the moment, and they have fought brilliantly, and they will continue to do so. And America will not defeat Iran, there's no question about that, and it's backed by Russia and by China. So there's a new world emerging, so long as we don't go down the nuclear route, because that's still quite possible that imperialism will use that weapon. But as long as that doesn't happen, we're in the end. It's almost impossible for me to believe that I'm still alive in the period when imperialism is collapsing by the hour. And it's a joyous thing to behold. And we need to look at China, in my opinion, because the young working class people in the West don't know about the development of the Chinese Communist Party, which has taken Adam Smith, the Scottish economist's ideas, and developed them in a way by controlling, allowing capital freely to express itself, but controlled by the state. And they have done in 30 years what capitalism could not do in 300 years. So we're at the end of the neoliberalism, we're at the end of imperialism, and we're on the verge of a new world which will emerge, particularly in Asia, and the West will not be able to continue to function in its old imperialist way.
What do you think when you look at? Do you even bother looking at the Scottish Parliament, particularly? Do you bother to look at Scottish politics? Does it even enter your radar?
I don't pay a great deal of attention to it, to tell you the honest truth.
Did you know that I had run for an election recently?
Oh, of course.
Just checking, like, you know.
Oh, I did vote for you.
I appreciate that.
You know, and it was an important intervention, because you brought down Robertson, and that was a very, very significant historical moment in Scottish history.
Okay.
No, well, you can make light of it if you like, but you brought down two major politicians in your elective career, and that's significant.
Mm-hmm.
And Robertson was a particularly bad example of the neoliberal political class in Scotland, because he entertained the Israeli deputy ambassador during the genocide, which was an absolutely stain on the Scottish people.
I couldn't agree more with that.
Which fortunately he's now been he's been exposed and brought down for that reason. You know?
Katrina Grant makes a good point here. She says, nothing is inevitable though. That's dialectics. I think she's dialects, but I think she means dialectics. We cannot have emergence of new economics or politics without working class movements. That's very true.
There's no question about that, and that's that's a task for the working class. But they'll be up for it. I don't have any doubts about that. You know, although the working class has been weakened by neoliberalism, by Thatcherism, by the absolute shocking behaviour of the Labour Party with Blair and Brown, and then Starmer, who's just an instrument of capital, really. I don't think for a moment that the working class will be defeated in this next period. Imperialism is incredibly weak. It cannot deliver people, to young people, a house. Well, for goodness sake, we've been building houses for 10,000 years, and some or other we can't have homes for people to live in. The opposite is the case in China. Now, people may have disagreements about the nature of the Chinese Communist Party and how it behaves and so on and so on, but they have pulled China up in 30 years from a peasant society to they're ahead in every field of human endeavour, in science, engineering, technology, education, health. There is no field in which the Chinese are not miles ahead of us, decades in my opinion. So I think we have to model ourselves on that type of, and I'm going to write a book, or I've already begun writing a book on Adam Smith, because Smith developed the notion of free enterprise, and he was the founder, if you like, of the theory of capitalism. But Smith was not a reactionary by any means. He believed in investment, in collective investment, and it was also the responsibility of government in hospitals and bridges and harbours and roads and schools and so on, you know. So I think Smith must be brought forward in that sense. And the Chinese have taken Smith's ideas and philosophy and taken them to a level which is almost unimaginable.
There's a fundamental question, though, of class consciousness. So, you know, you talk about the working class, you talk about having faith in working class resistance or organised working class. There is a fundamental issue of class consciousness when it comes to these matters.
I think the if I may come in here, the job of neoliberalism was to destroy class consciousness, working class consciousness. And it had some success in that on that basis. But if you look at the United States of America, the youth of America have turned against imperialism. They've turned against Zionism. And the Zionist lobby in America, which is particularly a specific type of ideology of imperialism, has been virtually destroyed. So they voted for Trump. That was a swing to the right, and they're now moving left at a very rapid pace. And that is along with the attempt by imperialism to re-establish its control in the Middle East, which it's failing miserably doing. So we're seeing the end of imperialism. We're seeing the end of Zionism. That can't continue, and the resistance of the Palestinians and also of the Iranian people is demonstrating to us that system is coming to an end now.
Despite the propaganda, they're not making much progress, are they?
No, the power of the imperialist media is waning by the hour. You know? Who watches BBC? Who listens to CNN? You know, they don't. People, they're not interested in what they have to say because they are defenders of the imperialist order. You know? So I, you know, there was a movement to the right when they voted for Trump, and that was understandable. But they're now, you know, there's a very interesting development in America, which is the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who was a right-wing, powerful right-wing figure in American politics. He had one of the biggest movements, youth movements in history, as a matter of fact, at his feet. They assassinated him. They assassinated him because he turned against imperialism. And
I think that seems to be that's definitely
he decided I'm not going to continue with the Zionist lobby, and he fought against, told Trump not to attack Iran. You know, and the Iranian people have been incredibly principled in the way that they have defended, for instance, against the South African fascist regime in South Africa. They've suffered for it immensely, and they have supported the resistance movement in the Middle East at their own expense, and they're now being attacked for that reason. But that attack is failing, and the Strait of Hormuz, for instance, is where imperialism is meeting its end game, in my opinion. I would say.
Well, I've always respected your geopolitical perspectives, Mr. McInnes, so I'm interested. Has anybody got any final questions for this, the progenitor, before we depart for the day? I think I'm going to put the link to the book here it's you can get it from the capitalist oligarch Jeff Bezos on Amazon if you're so inclined. And I think that we'll basically wind up now. So listen, it was great to have you join me this morning, Dad. Feather.
Thank you.
I would encourage folk to get the book. The illustrations, like you say, they are fantastic. You've got the whole surrealist angle on it as well. You've got Jean-Paul Sartre in there with football eyes, and Franz Kafka's in there. There's a whole Frida Kahlo even makes an appearance there. There's a fantastic array of info in the book, all football related and mischievous. Hold on, I've still got Katrina's link there. But yes, so any final football thoughts for the World Cup? Will you be watching the games?
Oh, you bet, for sure. Yeah, I think this is a good Scottish team, and I think that. Could I read the poem?
Of course. 1 second. Let me get this for you. Which poem is it?
Well, this is the address to the football that.
The Burns poem.
Yeah.
You read it already. Have you? Is that where we've reached? Is that how much refined sugar you've been having? Like, you know what I mean? Are you serious?
Okay.
You did the Burns poem just a short while ago.
Oh, okay. Fair call.
We'll put it down to anxiety and nerves, like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I'll get you in for an MRI scan after this, like, you know.
Sure.
Right, listen, Leslie Grace says, great to hear BP Seniors chat. Thank you very much. It was genuinely a pleasure to have you join me this morning. Let me just look here. Where's my? Here we go. Right. I will be returning with What the X throughout this coming period, so keep your eyes peeled. I think we'll stick with the Saturday mornings as it is. But once again, thanks for everybody. I don't know what's on in Edinburgh. Do you think Meadows Festival's on today? So I might pop there at some point, see what's going on there over the weekend. But like I would say, thanks to everybody who's joined me this morning. I think there's a decent amount of folk. Great show, says Madam Guy. Thank you very much. An interesting combination there, from imperialism to the World Cup and the Dugout Dialogues. So please, if you're able, purchase the Dugout Dialogues book from the link that's in the comments there. And I started off with a great piece of work by the brilliant Norman Harmon, which is Scotland brought us home, and I'm going to leave us with another great artist. Thanks, David T. He says, enjoyed that. Have a great day. I'm going to leave us with the fantastic Hugh Reading Friends with Fitba's Coming Home. So thanks for joining us, everyone, this morning, and I'll catch you all soon. Ciao.
The lions running rampant, not just on our shirt. We'll leave the other nations struggling in the dirt. But Britain, Iceland and other high street stores, we love set those teams with our extra time scores. America may be big, we're not best by its size. Burgers are okay, but we love our easy pies. You can keep your cola and your bourbon too. Bring on the Bovril and fizzy and brew. Football's coming home. It's our game, it's our game. Coming home on the plane. We're taking it back to Hampden. Taking it back to Hampden. We'll scare them with our bagpipes, they make a sterling sound. The opposition will want to leave the ground. If anyone tries to hack us, they're leaving in grassy clumps. Cause this year in America, we're coming up jumps. Football's coming home. It's our game, it's our game. Coming home on the plane. We're taking it back to Hampden. S-C-O-T-L-A-N-D, Scotland. S-C-O-T-L-A-N-D, Scotland. S-C-O-T-L-A-N-D, Scotland. S-C-O-T-L-A-N-D, Scotland.
A bit of a stramash. The ball breaks to Tierney. Goal! An absolute pile driver. James Crimmins held my ball from Mount Florida to North America.
Football's coming home. It's our game, it's our game. Coming home on the plane. We're taking it back to Hampden. Football's coming home. It's our game, it's our game.